As an author, you're going to need both a blurb and a synopsis for your book. And we know by the time we get to the end of the book, it can be really hard to write a short, condensed version of it. A blurb, really hard. A synopsis, really hard, because we want to put in all the little details. We want to do all the things, and it makes it difficult for us to pick what is most important to communicate what our book is about to people who are potentially going to buy our book or understand our book, or potentially if we're querying it, it can make it really hard for them to say yes. So a little hack for this is to do it before you write your book. Seriously, if you know what you're going to be writing, you have an idea for a book, even if you are a pantser and you're going to figure it out as you go, you have an overall idea of what you're doing inside of this book. So freaking write it first. Why would you wait until the end when you have so many details and little things that you want to include, and then you have to try to figure out how to take those things out? Before you write your book, write a blurb, which is going to convince people to buy your book, and write a summary of it. Then after you finish writing your book, go back and revisit it. If it stayed somewhat similar to it, you can tweak it a little bit. If you need to add in a detail or two, fine. But now you're not trying to weed through all those details to create something. You're not taking a bunch of stuff out. You have a staple that you're then adding things into if necessary. If it, of course, has changed dramatically, you're going to have to rewrite it. But at least you have an idea of the trajectory of your book. So before I write my novels, I write the blurbs, because I know the general idea of where I'm going. And so I'm writing 1 to maybe 2 paragraphs of this blurb, explaining it to people. And then I take that blurb to my trusted circle and say, what do you think about this? Does this sound like a book you would read? And if they say yes, now I know I probably have a winner. And if they say, I don't know about that, before I write this book, I can make it more interesting and better. So I'm writing that blurb before I do any work on this, because blurbs are kind of open-ended. This is just the hook to get people to buy your book. You're not telling all of your secrets. So writing that blurb gives you a very clear guideline on where you're going with this story, even if you're a complete pantser. Now, writing a summary is going to be a little bit more involved. You want a couple of paragraphs. It's not going to be long. This is not like several pages. Write the summary. What are the big things that are happening inside of your book? I don't need all the details. I need the beginning, the middle, and the end. I need a couple of things that happen along the way. Tell me what the big main things are. You should have maybe 3 paragraphs or 4 or 5 paragraphs. Or, I mean, if you're a plotter and you know what's going on, write the thing. Feel free. But if you're a pantser and you're just figuring it out, do a couple of paragraphs. Then you have some touchstones that you can write to. You can change them if needed. But you have a basic idea of where you're going with this book. You're putting it into summary form. And then, of course, if you're changing details along the way, fix your summary as you go. If you know a big, massive plot point has changed from what you wrote in that summary, go delete that line or 2 and then swap in what you're doing. You'll have a completed summary by the time you're done. You do not need to have every little detail. You just need the main sentiments to communicate to someone you're querying or someone you're telling about your book what is going on. Write your blurb and write your summary before you write the book. It acts as that guidepost for you. It acts as an umbrella to keep you safe with your writing and to make sure you're doing what you're supposed to and staying on task. But you also have the work done in advance. And then if you run it by somebody and they say, oh my gosh, I have to read this. It sounds amazing. That's so exciting. That's so cool. That's so dark. That's so whatever. You know if you have a winner before you write it. If you're just writing and you're kind of figuring your way out through it, you don't know if it's going to get boring or sloppy or messy or weird or whatever. We don't know if it's going to get to a point where it's kind of making it hard for people to keep reading through. But if you give them those bullet points, that basic idea of what the story is about, and they like it, you have the ability to then write it. And if they don't love it or they say, I'm not sure about that, you can fix it before you write it and save yourself so much time and effort. So write your blurb, write your summary before you write your book, and then tweak it either as you're going or tweak it at the end so that you have something that has those main points, the meaty parts of your book without all the extra details that clutter these things up and make it hard for especially agents to read through your summary to understand if they're going to like this book or how to sell this book or how to market this book. Besides that, your summary is really good for marketing your book. It's really the marketing points of your book, the tropes, the things that happen. So do the work in advance. It saves you time, effort, and stress, and gives you so much stress relief because now you know exactly what's going on. You've got a pretty good idea of where you're going, and you don't have to stress as you're going. Follow along for more tips and tricks to make your life easier as an author because we want this to be your best author year ever with the least amount of stress. So we're giving you daily tips here on the channel. We'll see you then.